Hi, friends, and welcome. Today's adventure, well, let's just say it's one of the most special I believe we've ever brought you. Now, if you're a frequent flyer, a regular viewer, then you know we'll travel just about anywhere to go hunting and fishing with good people and have a good time, and this program's no exception. But joining us on this trip is one unique individual, and I tell you, the circumstances of this actually caught me a little by surprise. You see, we were setting up what we call the spring break for adults trip down to southern Texas, down to hunt with our good friends at the Rio Bonito Ranch. We were going down there to hunt wild hogs and Rio Grande turkeys and some exotics. This is a 25 square mile, absolutely free-range wonderland. Anything and everything might walk by you out in this country. And we were going down there. Captain Dan Fox was going to be our guide. And joining us was Brad and Sue Morgan, and our good friends from over at Morgan's Composting. Well, everything was going along according to plan until a couple of weeks before we were due to leave. T and I stopped by just to make sure everything was going right. And when we sat down to talk to Sue for a minute, well, let's just say we got a bit of a shock.
Hi. Hi. Come on in.
You ready to go to Texas?
Well, I'm not sure.
What do you mean you're not sure? We have to buy plane tickets. What, you don't want to go?
I do. I'm a little nervous. I was involved in a shooting, and he wasn't there to hurt nobody.
A shooting?
Yeah.
Like a shooting, people shooting at you, or?
Well, no, he was shooting into the ceiling and the counter in the office of the place I was at. So I'm a little gun shy.
Well, that's kind of understandable. You were involved. Somebody was robbing a place, or?
No, they really weren't there to take anything. They were there just shooting. And thank goodness that they were there just shooting and not hurting anybody.
Well, I know you come from a hunting family. I know you've shot many times yourself, but that's a whole other different situation when you're on the floor worried about somebody shooting and maybe shooting at you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I wasn't aware of that, but I will tell you this. If you're willing to get on the plane and go down there, I'm willing to take you out and see if maybe we can get by that. I can't promise you we can, I don't know, but if you're willing to try, I'd give it a go.
I'm willing to try.
You sure? And then if it doesn't work out, you can blame me.
Okay.
That'd be good?
All right.
All right. Don't we're not going yet. We'll get through it.
Okay.
I had no idea Sue had been in that scary and traumatic a situation. I did know from my military days, this wasn't something that you just get over. Every sight and smell and sound that reminds you of that moment can be just as traumatic as the original. It really is something that's difficult to deal with if you've never been there. I was impressed by her willingness to try to work through it, to overcome that fear, and to go on the trip anyway, but I'd be lying if I wasn't more than a little concerned for what might happen once we got out there, and she actually tried to pick up a rifle and fire it at something. You never know how your brain and your heart and your mind are going to react when it comes to this kind of thing, and I was truly hoping that we could get through it. I knew for a fact that if she was willing to muster the courage to try, I was going to do everything I could to make it happen. Hey, I'm your host, Kyle Randall. This is my Wilderness Journal, and we're headed down south to Texas for a little adult spring break with an extra agenda right now. 2 weeks later, Sue and Brad joined Dan and I down at the Rio.
Happy Easter. Hey, let's go get our Easter ham.
Yeah, that's it right there. And after some introductions and a great lunch prepared by Chef Johnny K., it was time to go hunting. Okay, I just wondered. I knew Sue would be nervous. I was trying to keep things light and entertaining. It was fortunate that not long after we got in there, a couple of big old jackrabbits showed up and started bouncing about. Unusual. You see them rabbits?
I do.
You ever seen a rabbit that big?
No. It's huge.
Can you see any stirrup marks on it? They might have saddled it. This is Texas, but look out there. He's going to go across. There wasn't much game moving on that warm Texas evening. The jackrabbits were a pleasant diversion, and Sue seemed fairly comfortable. Now what we needed was some actual game, something we were hunting for, so we could see how she'd handle that. And just as it got dark,
Pigs are coming.
a small group of wild hogs was moving in to feed. There was a bunch of mixed young and a decent mid-sized boar. This was definitely a shooter.
How do you feel about that? Or can you see well?
Yeah,
Do you think you could shoot that pig?
I think so. It's on its nose.
Well, it's being still enough.
Oh, he
Now,
turned.
he turned a little bit.
Is it too dark? Will we find it?
Well, I can't see what you can see. If you can see it clearly, it's not too dark. Slow down. Just relax.
We didn't have much time. The sun was already set. If she was going to shoot, it was going to have to be soon.
I can't stay steady. Oh, he's
Okay.
turning.
Hold on. We'll wait for that other bigger one.
Is he sideways?
No, he's facing straight on right now. If you can't tell if he's sideways, then it's too dark. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
We weren't ready yet. Sue was obviously more than a little bit shaken. She did manage to pick up her rifle and to sight down through it, but she was in no shape to take a shot, and I have to tell you, I was more than a little concerned of the impact that a miss, or worse yet, a wounded animal might have on her. The best thing to do is exactly what we did. We decided to wait. In a place like the Rio, I had no doubt we'd get another chance, and I really didn't want to get this started on the wrong foot. We'd just wait for the morning. And in the morning, Sue and I were in a different stand watching a couple of young cyca deer working their way in to feed. Along with the cyca deer, there were a couple of jackrabbits to provide even more entertainment. Plenty of critters to watch. Now all we needed was that shooter, that next opportunity. The cyca deer seemed particularly nervous. They would dart out and then work their way back. I noticed our blind was shaking a little bit. Sue's leg was bouncing. The deer obviously weren't the only things that were a little nervous.
Binoculars up and say there's a deer. See that rabbit?
This cyca buck certainly wasn't big enough to take a run at, so we just sat there kind of enjoying the show.
Okay, that's a cyca's couple.
The cyca.
I think so.
That is until I noticed the cyca looking down the ranch road, and then they started to move off. I could hear our ride coming, so I whispered to Sue, "Hey,
Early.
let's have some fun with the boys."
Whatever I say, you go along with it, okay?
Well, thanks, buddy. Next time I want something to run the deer off, I'll call you.
I can't hear what you're saying.
Well, it ain't nothing polite. How come you guys come and showed up and run off our cyca deer?
Well, why didn't you shoot it?
We were fixing to until some knucklehead come driving up the road.
Did it have any antlers?
As a matter of fact, it did.
Seriously?
No, I'm Kyle. She's Sue. Sue seemed to really enjoy teasing Dan and her husband Brad. She was starting to calm down. She was actually starting to enjoy this trip, and that's what a hunting trip is supposed to be. It's not just about what you get. It's not even just about where you go. It's the whole package, the people, the time, the enjoyment. And Sue was starting to get her arms around that. And as we headed back out to the stand where we'd seen the hogs the night before, I could tell she was still more than a little bit nervous, but she was actually starting to enjoy herself. In fact, Sue was comfortable enough to agree to some practice, just sighting on some cyca does that came out.
Pretty steady. Good.
Yeah, because I know I'm not shooting.
Well, no, but that's okay. This is why you practice.
We both knew these weren't shooters, but she needed the practice, and I wanted her to have the heft of the rifle, the view through the scope, and I knew these little steps would be important confidence builders for when it was time to do it for real.
What I want you to do is just take a deep breath. you steady the crosshairs for just a second.
So far, so good. We had a nice steady rifle, a good sight picture. Now all we needed was the right critter.
Okay, well then go back to feeding. Go ahead and put your rifle down. Okay. Good job.
That was another important step in the right direction. Sue actually picked up her rifle and sighted down through the scope. Those obviously weren't shooter critters, but it's tough just to do that, just to pick up the rifle and aim it and try to control the tremble in your hand, the little bit of flutter in your heart. This was starting to come together. I actually was starting to believe we might get this done. A little later, I was explaining to Sue that she could watch the critters, the birds and other animals, and they would tell her when something was coming.
Doves. Yeah, there is something.
And in fact, a few more psychics started working their way out to feed.
There it is. What is that? Another psychic. Yeah. Yep. Couple more. Some critters out moving earlier. You notice it's not quite so hot.
Yeah.
All we need is some critters we're looking for. But they're pretty, aren't they?
They are pretty.
You see how those critters will tell you that there's other critters coming. Like I said, the birds will fly, the deer will look. They'll tell you what's going on.
And then suddenly the cycle left.
That usually means pigs are coming. When the deer leave all at once, it usually means they hear honks. So I want you to pick your gun up, put your binoculars down. I don't know that that's what's coming, but that's usually how they behave. They all up and leave at once because they fear that pigs grunt.
We sat for a few suspenseful seconds watching some quail working, and
There's a whole cubby of them.
just as I was beginning to doubt,
There's pigs. Okay, just get it on there just like we did before. Take your safety off, okay? Nice and quiet. Just roll it forward. See the one to the right all by itself. You just find him in the scope and catch your breath.
Okay.
All right. You see him?
Yeah.
Wait for him to turn. All right. Okay. Can you get on him?
Yeah.
Can you see him good? Okay. Wait for him to get sideways. Wait for him to turn. All right.
He's turned.
All right. Go ahead and put your finger on the trigger now.
He turned.
All right. There's another one just to his left. Oh, he's back. Breathe in. Okay. Let out a little bit. Steady, steady, steady when you're ready. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You go. Go ahead. Perfect.
Did I hit
Perfect. Pretty. You hit him. He's laying right there. You did it. Perfect.
I hit him.
You did perfect. You nailed that. You made such a good shot, and you waited. You did so good. I am so proud of you. You didn't hurry. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Is it exciting? Is it a little
Yeah.
scary? A little
Scary.
exciting?
Yeah.
That
He's like
is-
dead done.
Oh, no. You did him. He didn't feel a thing.
He didn't run.
He didn't run. He is right there. All fun. All done. That is perfect. Calm down. Catch our breath. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
that was an awesome shot on a good pig. I was so impressed with Sue's ability, I almost jumped out of that blind. Friends, she had to deal with so much fear and muster so much courage. I was truly impressed and more than a little relieved. This was even better than I had hoped. We had a great pig on the ground. Everybody was one piece. And Sue was crying a little, but you know what? She was cheering a lot.
You ready to go see him before we get started?
Yeah.
He ain't going nowhere. Let's go. That's an eater right there. That
Okay.
is perfect. Go ahead. Let's go.
Just walk right up and go around the back and reach up and just touch her. I'm sure she's finished. She hasn't moved a lick. There you are. Easter pig. Yay! Just go ahead and set your rifle down, pointing the other way. Sue Morgan. Got a rifle for Christmas and a pig for Easter.
He's heavy.
It is heavy. It's a great pig.
He's got tusk.
Yes, he does. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Aren't you happy we waited?
Yeah.
We got the right pig. I am so proud. How's it feel?
Good.
Yeah?
Good.
What were you thinking? Tell me.
I was nervous.
Well,
Very nervous.
worked out pretty good though, didn't it?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yes, it did.
You can say it out loud.
Yes.
You can actually be happy. Isn't that pig heavy?
Yeah, it's
Well,
heavy.
put it down. What is it that your daughter-in-law said in her text today? Boy, you sound like a real hunter.
I sound like a real hunter.
Well, I got news for you. You are a real hunter. Congratulations, Sue.
Thank you.
A real hunter indeed. Sue had prevailed over the demons of fear and doubt and managed to muster the courage, like I said, to do a great job. She had every right and reason to be proud of herself as we headed in. And I have to tell you, I was proud of her and more than a little humble to be there in that moment. If you don't know, trust me, that was an amazing thing. When we got back to the lodge, Sue got whistled in, as is the tradition for all returning successful hunters at the Rio Bonito. And I have to say, there was a lot of relieved faces and smiles. So I want my eggs scrambled. Sue looked truly happy. The next morning, a somewhat calmer and relieved Sue Morgan and I headed back out for the last day of our hunt. The guys were over about a mile away. We were going to try to get on some exotics, maybe a sheep, a ram, if one came by. All I knew was this trip was already a success, and I didn't want anything to tarnish that.
Let's see if there may be one of those Corsican.
That morning, Sue and I were on yet a different part of the Rio, and we were watching a couple of white and one chocolate fallow deer does work their way by. These weren't shooters either, but it was really nice to see the different kinds of animals. There's so many different things that show up at this ranch, you really never know what you're going to see. I was encouraged when Sue whispered, "Hey, where's the buck?"
It's hunting deer. I can't promise you nothing.
We'd seen some game that morning, just not the wild hogs or maybe sheep that we were looking for. That is, until just before we were going to break and go in for lunch, we noticed a band of mixed wild rams go darting through the brush. Now, there was no time for Sue to get on them, but I thought, we could still get an opportunity. I asked her, "Sue, if I called the guys and they came over and joined us, would you be up to going after those? Would you be interested in trying to do a stalk on a ram?" And I got to tell you, I was more than a little surprised when she thought about it for a minute. She said, "Sure, I'll try." Brad and Captain Dan had the shooting sticks, so we had to wait for them to come join us, and when they got there, we decided Sue would work her way out with Dan, and Brad and I would loop try to pick up the game to get ahead a little bit, and it didn't take long before I tried to grunt them to a stop, but they weren't hearing it. Sue had to pick up and ease ahead and make another loop. A pair of gorgeous Corsican rams were standing there together, but there was no safe shot. They were literally in back of each other, and when they would split, they'd come right back together. The whole bunch was getting nervous. Sue and Dan would just have to make another loop, try to get out ahead, and hopefully get back on those Corsicans, or maybe one of the white Texas Doll that we're running in this group. So far, things were going really well for Sue, but if the wind shifted or they actually were seen trying to sneak alongside, well, this was going to be over before she ever got a shot. Sue was up on the sticks, and she could see a great white ram at the back of the group, but there would only be seconds. You got him.
I hit my hitty.
You did. Now watch him. What do you think?
I thought I missed him.
I saw it. You hit him. No, you don't. Now, what are you crying for?
Because I don't know.
Put your gun on safe. Put it back on safe. Yep, Dan can see him. He's down. You did it. Good job. Here, you want me to hold that?
Yep.
You're not supposed to. There's no crying and hunting. Well, maybe a little.
Yeah.
Are you happy? Mm-hmm. Ready to go see?
Yeah.
All right, here, let me grab this. Let's go see. My friends, I have watched a lot of hunters and huntresses walk up on their game, but I cannot honestly recall a more satisfying moment than seeing Sue walk up there and touch this ram. She was back. Certainly there'd be moments again in the future, but trust me, she was back. Look at me. You are deadly. What do you think? Why are you laughing?
Because
It's kind of exciting. All right. Well, I tell you what I'd like you to do. Give that to the gun porter there. You got quite a nice gun porter there. Well, tell me, was that exciting?
Yeah. Yeah.
What will the boys think now, right?
Yeah.
You know what's hard on, I was thinking about your boys just now as we were walking up here, and I'm wondering how big a fight you're going to start. And you know why I think that? Because somebody's about to lose a seat in the truck on the next hunting trip. So somebody, I don't know, is it Justin or Jeremy? Who's going to be? Somebody going to be mad.
Yep. Jacob or
awesome.
Amy.
I can also promise you I won't never forget it. I really have enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun, and I hope it's just the first time. We'll do this again. Congratulations again, Sue Morgan. What a tremendous shot on a gorgeous Texas doll ram. I gotta tell you, I was shocked. I was more than a little surprised you did so good. You have, like I said, every right and reason to be truly proud. And I hope you know you took from Texas more than a couple of great trophies. You took another step back to the out of doors, back to the love of hunting and joining your family on something you had done for your entire life. Certainly Sue won't be over this in a minute. I told you that's not the way this kind of thing is. But she has made some awful big strides through her own courage and perseverance, and I was truly humble and thankful that she let us share that with her. Hey, I want to thank, too, the people down at the Rio Bonito that made that possible, that were such great hosts. I want to thank Brad and certainly Captain Dan for being our great guides. All of the people that made this possible shared in what I believe was a true triumph. My friends, I know that not every moment in a lifetime is memorable, but I truly believe we should try to relive and enjoy the good moments at least as often as we're forced to relive and endure the bad. Get out, make a good memory, join your family, and enjoy the out-of-doors. It is worth every second you will spend there. Hey, and if you do, I hope we see you there. I hope you're dragging in a big old ram or a hog or a turkey of your own. And if we do, well, you know we're going to stop and share that cup and a fire. And if I don't see you out there, friends, then I'll be right here so we can share another adventure from my wilderness journal. Thanks again to everybody down at the Rio, and certainly congratulations again to Sue.